Arnold Classic UK's former promoter JAILED. Big Ramy, is he in or out of the 2023 Mr Olympia? Plus the IFBB speak on Hunter versus Andrew Jacked. What's up, desktopers? Xavier Wills here for Desktop Bodybuilding, and we are back for another bodybuilding news video. I'm going to kick this one off with Rafael Brandao looking crazy impressive in his latest physique update. Now working with Neil Hill, formerly working with Chris Aceto. Whatever changes Neil has made to Rafael in his off-season, it seems to be working really well, because Rafael actually looks a little bit leaner than he normally is in his off-seasons, and he has got super full, and it seems like he's maintaining that really tight waist as well. So that's what we want to see from Rafael Brandao. He did say as well he's tempted just to do a show when he's looking this good in his off-season, but he's going to hold off to 2024, and I think that's the best move. If he can keep adding more mass to that frame while keeping his physique in check in terms of the waist really tight and just everything still flowing really nicely and keeping those aesthetics, then that's going to be the best thing for him. And he's already a top 10 Olympian based off last year, which was a really good Mr Olympia as well. So I can see this guy definitely pushing up into the top 6 at some point. He's going to need to add more mass to actually battle with those guys, but bringing his level of aesthetics to the stage, I think he's the most aesthetic guy in the Mr Olympia right now. He's going to do very well, and I imagine he's going to be a fan favorite the next time he hits the stage. Now, next physique update comes from Nick Walker, who's looking really damn good. This has been the biggest change I've seen in Nick's physique throughout this prep. He looks like he's just filled out even more, and obviously that conditioning coming in as well leads him just to look better and better. Very excited for Nick. Nick can no doubt be a contender right up there in the top 3. Can he potentially win it? Potentially can. He could bring another level of freak factor. Do I think he will? No. I won't be predicting Nick to win, and there'll be so many guys that are close to each other that I might predict Nick in 5th place, but he could win it as well. That's how close this year's Mr Olympia could be, but very impressed with Nick Walker's latest physique updates. Now we head on to John Jewett's transformation from the 212 to the Open, which he's going to be doing at the Legion Sports Fest in just 6 to 7 weeks time from now. So photo on the left is 4 weeks out at the 212 Atlanta. He's at 221 pounds, which is a show he won and qualified for the 212 Olympia. The one on the right is 7 weeks out of the Legion, where he's actually doing the Open, and he's actually 8 pounds heavier. Now, is it 8 pounds of conditioning worth? I don't think so. I think that John has genuinely put on muscle, or at least put on fullness, and he plans to come in a little bit fuller at this Open debut, which he's doing. And I'm very excited for it, because John Jewett looked phenomenal at that Atlanta Pro that he won. If he can come in just that little bit fuller and he doesn't have to push down to 212, which even on the left, he was 221, it's incredibly exciting to see how that physique will look, as long as he's in good enough condition still, which it looks like he will be. When you look at him from the back, the glutes are still in already at 229. So I think we're going to see an all-time best John Jewett. As long as he brings that conditioning and he brings enough fullness, he can probably win this show. And I don't know who else is doing that Legion, but he might hold someone out from doing the Open Olympia this year, and he'll have a decision to make. Will he do the 212 or will he do the Open in 2023? Now we've got some updates here from Blessing Awodibu, who, working with Cameron Cheek, has made crazy improvements to his physique. I know he's been in the gym there around Martin Fitzwater, Brett Wilkin, and all those guys. And I think it's been the best thing for Blessing Awodibu, because he is looking absolutely phenomenal. And I'm sort of blown away, and I'm really excited. I think we're going to see an all-time best Blessing, which was good enough to beat Charles Griffin. So who's to say he's not good enough to win one of these European shows? He's going to be up against some stiff competition, like I've mentioned in so many videos. Nathan Asha, Regan Grimes, Good Vito, a whole bunch of names going into those contests. So it's going to be tough for Blessing, but if we see an all-time best Blessing, and he is looking crazy right now, can he win this show? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Just a little bit over 2.5 weeks out, or probably 2.5 weeks out now. And on to one of those men that is doing that show in Nathan Asha, who's really bringing it in tight. He's working with a new coach, an unknown coach, because he doesn't want to put that sort of pressure on the new coach. He's looking really sharp, and I think he said he's at his all-time heaviest for this sort of condition. So looking really damn good. You can see him a hamstring. He's got that sort of dry, grainy detail that's coming through. And this is like 3 week out photos as well. So this is incredibly exciting. by the looks of it, they're going to sort of bring it right down and flattening out, and then he's going to fill out, and probably in the tradition of Nathan Asha, he's going to come in looking absolutely freaky, I bet. So looking really, really damn good in his return to the stage, and I'm excited to see what he looks like on stage in just over 2 weeks' time. And we're getting onto a story now, and this is the Arnold Classic UK promoter, JAILED, for 27 months. I first saw it on Evolution of Bodybuilding, so check that out. The link to this full article is in the description below. It's titled Former Arnold Sports Festival UK Promoter Jailed for 27 Months. It says Stephen, he went by Stephen Alexi. I don't know how to pronounce that last name. You guys can see it on the screen. The former promoter of the Arnold Sports Festival UK and partner of Arnold Schwarzenegger was jailed for 27 months. Stephen was sentenced to 27 months imprisonment at Leeds Crown Court on 3rd of August 2023 for fraud offences and acting as a company director while an undischarged bankrupt. He was also required to pay approximately $70,000 compensation within 3 months to the 2 creditors he defrauded. The news comes as a shock. He worked with guys such as Arnold Schwarzenegger, Al Pacino, and Sylvester Stallone, to name a few, and there's a whole bunch of other names too that he worked with. Yeah, if you guys want to read that full article, it is available. The link is in the description below. But essentially, the Arnold Classic UK is back next year as well. It's going to be after the Arnold Classic in Columbus. I don't know how many weeks after exactly, but it will be back next year. But obviously not being promoted by the same guy. So very, very excited for that contest. And they did actually ask Arnold Classic Columbus Executive Director Brian Powers about some of this, and yeah, he did say it would return in 2024, the Arnold Classic UK. So very, very exciting. And he did say obviously Stephen will not be working with them. Now, the question that everyone's been asking is Big Ramy doing the 2023 Mr Olympia? We're seeing some things that Big Ramy's posting up. We saw his friend posted a posing video the other day. I asked Chad Nichols, he said no, it is not recent. So I need to get that confirmation, because I was almost going to go live with it saying, is this video recent or not? It is not recent. I don't know why Big Ramy's best friend or one of his best friends actually just posted this up, because everyone's going to assume that is a recent video, and it was shared as well by Chad Nichols. So I thought, oh, it probably is recent. It is not recent, and I'm happy it's not recent too, because normally he's confident in his physique if he's posting up a full body physique update, and I wasn't overly impressed from what I saw, and it looked like some of those same weaknesses were still there, so I'm happy that wasn't recent. So that's good news, but we don't know if Big Ramy's doing the 2023 Mr Olympia. Now, Bob Ciccarello, who's spoken a bit on Big Ramy and bodybuilders that maybe should retire or have a year off and things like that, this is what he had to say on a recent episode on Mr Olympia TV.
I'm going to take Big Ramy out. I firmly believe I don't think we're going to see him competing this year, so I'm just going to take him out for the sake of this conversation.
So Bob Ciccarello, the MC of the Mr Olympia and Athletes Rep, firmly believes we will not see Big Ramy competing at the Olympia this year. Does Bob have any inside information? I'm not too sure. But Big Ramy has put up some posts that he's like, it's time to lock in. It's time to, get down to business. But we're at what? 11 weeks out of a Mr Olympia now? Is it 10 weeks out? We're getting pretty close. So Big Ramy would really have to be in prep right now if he is competing in that 2023 Mr Olympia. He obviously had the stem cells. He's had them injected directly into the tricep and the elbows and those problem areas. So hopefully that is helping. And I really do hope we get to see Big Ramy on the 2023 Mr Olympia stage. We know his physique just changes so incredibly quick. And he was looking really big, and I thought really good at the Arnold Classic in 2023. So I hope we get to see him once again, and he has some of those areas like his lats, like his triceps improved. And I think we'll see one of the best all-time versions of Big Ramy potentially. But will that be enough to win this year's Mr Olympia? It's hard to say. Now, I want to get on to Tyler Mannion and a video that he released on behalf of the NPC and IFBB regarding the 2023 Texas Pro, where I believe he was the head judge. And I wanted to get into it because he had a lot of really interesting information on the posing, on who had winning each pose between Hunter and Andrew Jack at that show, and if Hunter fading was the reason he lost the contest. So let's get into it and break down and react to what Tyler Mannion had to say.
We're going to basically go through the poses with Hunter and Andrew. This was an extremely, extremely close show. I want to give props to both these guys. I think they have improved so much since last year. Actually, not even last year for Andrew. Andrew, from the Arnold until this show, improved greatly. His fullness and the roundness that he brought to his physique. And he also, kept more size in his legs with arguably the same condition, if not a little better conditioning than he brought to the Arnold. And his back improved greatly. He added so much more density to his back. It was very impressive to see in such a short amount of time.
I think it's so cool to actually hear a judge speak about the gains a bodybuilder has made, because sometimes you wonder, has the judge actually recognized this? Do they see him too much? But he recognized the amount of muscle that Andrew actually put onto his back, and these guys are seeing him up close. So sometimes it's naive to think that, oh, maybe the judge missed it, or the judge didn't see what we see, or whatever. They're there front row, they can see it a lot better than us. So it's cool to actually hear that.
Hunter improved his physique massively since last year. Looks like a completely different bodybuilder. He turned his back poses from a weakness into a huge strength. His conditioning is way, way better than it was last year. Even his actual waistline is a lot better than it was last year as well. So both these guys improved a ton. I think these are both guys that are going to be pushing to be in that top 5 of the Olympia and compared and in that first call out and give everybody a run for their money.
Yeah, so that's really cool to hear. So he thinks both of these guys can be in the top 5 at the Olympia. I think some people are saying like, I don't think they'll be top 5. I think Andrew was really damn good. I think he was so much better than he was at last year's Mr. Olympia, where he placed 8th and Hunter was 7th. I think they were both dramatically better. Now, would they have placed ahead of Samson Dowder, Brandon Curry maybe even? I think both these physiques would have placed ahead of Brandon Curry's look from last year. Now, Brandon, I thought, fullness-wise, was phenomenal, but he was pretty soft. So I think that these guys would have slotted into probably 4th and 5th place. Maybe they would have beat Nick Walker's Mr. Olympia appearance from last year. I think potentially they would have. So what does that put these two guys at? 3rd and 4th? They were very close in judging, so I assume they'd be side by side. So people saying that these guys will be still like 6th and 7th, I think that's a little bit misguided. I think they'll place higher. Now, will I predict them that much higher? Maybe not, but some of these guys won't hit it 100%. And I think that Andrew and Hunter will be either at 100% or somewhere close to it.
So what we saw when they first came out to what we were seeing at the end, obviously there was a difference. In prejudging and in finals, when they both came out, actually this show was probably Hunter's to lose at that point, because the conditioning that he brought both times, he was very conditioned, very detailed, very separated. And you'll hear as we go pose by pose here what we were really looking at as judges. And then, obviously, what changed as well, because we posed them so hard so we could see who really would be the winner. And Andrew stood up there almost statuesque and really wasn't breathing hard and wasn't struggling to hit his poses. Hunter had a much harder time, not only hitting the poses but also controlling his midsection as well. Started to sweat and started to fade as we went along.
So did you guys hear what he said? He said it was Hunter's to lose when he came out. So Hunter, based on his initial look when he came out versus Andrew Jacked, he was winning. And judges did have him winning at prejudging and at finals. So the judges may have been swayed. A couple of them may have been swayed based on Hunter fading at both prejudging and finals. He was sweating. You heard what he said. So Hunter, based off posing, essentially lost this contest to Andrew Jacked. Now, I heard Andrew Jacked was actually posing in like a sauna room, and he was posing for ages. Chris Psycho Lewis would put up videos, and he did this last prep as well for the Arnold. Andrew Jacked was posing, you just see his feet. So you just basically go through the poses and he'd video Andrew Jack's feet, just teasing everyone, not showing what he actually looks like. And he would pose and you'd see Andrew Jack, dripping sweat. And you just see him posing, holding it. And that's the reason Andrew Jack won this contest, because he looked like he could have posed all day. He trained at posing endurance. It's not the same as just cardio fitness. It's completely different if you've done it yourself. And I think that's honestly why Andrew Jack won, which is crazy to say. And it shows how important posing is. Now, I don't know how much posing Hunter did. He might just be a sweater by nature. I'm not sure. But it looked like Andrew Jack had done more of that than Hunter.
Now we get over to Andrew, and Andrew hit this pose wrong every single time we posed them on the stage. He was pulling his lats out, but instead of pulling them all the way out, he would round over and round his shoulders and hunch to the front. This would take away from so much of his width, but it also flattens out his back. And backstage, when we worked on this pose and fixed it, I think whenever he goes to hit this pose at the Olympia, if he hits it the proper way, he's going to shock people with how good this pose could really look on him. So I think that's going to be a big surprise for people at the Olympia. it's a much, much stronger pose than what he showed off this weekend. But for these reasons, again, this was a Hunter pose.
That's super exciting that pose can be so much better. And you can see it in Tyler's face. He sort of almost laughs. He's like, this is going to be so much better. Like, he's like, people don't understand. So Andrew, essentially what he's saying is he wasn't pushing his chest up, because it's a sort of a misconception that you just want to make your lats as wide as possible, that rear lat spread, and pull your elbows around as far as possible. But if you're letting those shoulders fold and go in, you're losing a bit of that width across his shoulders. So if he's able to push the chest up while still pulling his elbows around far enough, flexing those wrists around, the pose can look even that much more crazy, make the back pop out more, make the waist come in even a little bit more, and he can look like an absolute freak. And I have no doubt, and Tyler knows what he's talking about. He's grown up in bodybuilding, so that's very, very exciting for Mr. Olympia. And if Andrew Jack can make that rear lat spread pose really, really good, maybe not to the level of beating Derek Lunsford or maybe not even Hardy Chupin, but he has some shots that will beat those guys. So it's going to make it really interesting.
Next up is the side tricep pose. As you guys saw in the criteria video, we want to see these guys hit the side tricep pose from the side. So the way Andrew's hitting a side tricep pose was basically a variation of the ab and thigh, but instead of the arms being down, he's showing off his tricep and has his arms down. Guys transition into this pose all the time, and transitioning into it is fine. However, it's called side tricep for a reason. We want to see their bodies from the side. We want to see the side leg again. The side leg gets judged in two poses, the side chest and the side tricep. So as unbelievable, of course, because Andrew has an amazing ab and thigh, but as unbelievable as his side tricep pose he was hitting looks, it's not what we want to see and not what we're judging in the side tricep. We need to see that side leg, and we want to see these guys in the side tricep. Again, this is something I talked to Andrew about backstage, and we worked on hitting that pose as well backstage. Even though his variation looks insane, this was a Hunter pose.
And that's exactly right. Like, I think I called Hunter winning the side tricep, or I said it's very close, because I said Andrew Jack's variation is so crazy. Maybe it beats Hunter's version, like it's a pose that looks better, but there's a clear directive there. And that's why I love Tyler actually speaking about it, because now the fans know, the competitors know, they all know they have to hit that side tricep spot on now. I don't think anyone's not going to see this video at some point in some way, unless they're completely turned off to any sort of bodybuilding media. So great directive. I love that he's coming out and actually saying this. They want to see it from the side. I'm sure the transition is judged to a small extent, and you can make your physique look really good there, and you can minimize the damage of that side pose if it is weaker than Hunter's. Like, you could hit it for 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds, and then transition into that, hold that for a few seconds, then get called into your back double bicep or whatever shot's next, ab and thigh. So that's really cool. And I love that we've got advice and a directive on that, because I think if Andrew did hit the side tricep the traditional way, he would have probably easily been beaten by Hunter.
Hunter's ab and thigh is a weaker shot for him. I suggested to him that he should actually hit the one arm over his head variation that he was hitting instead of the straight 2 arms overhead. With the 1 arm overhead pose, it actually looks a little bit better on him. He's able to flex his one quad, which has great size and separation and detail into it. His abs and his core actually look better. Even his obliques and serratus look way more detailed, and it gives him a better illusion and shape to the shot.
So that's interesting as well, because I actually thought the ab pose, the same would go for the ab pose as it does for the tricep pose. So they're fine with him having one arm overhead and then flexing with the other arm. And I guess you're still showing the same thing. It's not like you're not showing a side leg like you are on a side tricep, where you're sort of turning to the front. So it is still an ab pose. So they're completely fine with him hitting like a one arm overhead. You don't have to hit the traditional ab pose. So that's good to know as well, because I didn't know that myself. I thought they might mark you down a little bit, or I'm just saying, it's hard to judge between the normal ab pose and that other one. I think it's just whatever looks best on your physique. And like Tyler said as well, that one arm above head for Hunter definitely looks better, because he can lock that quad out and he gets crazy striations.
As you see from what I just said, whenever these guys first came out and were first posing them, I have Hunter taking the side chest, the back double bicep, the back lat spread, the side tricep, and also at the beginning, I would have given him the most muscular by maybe a hair. Now, because it's so close between such great competitors, we knew we had to work them. And working them also helps the judges see who's going to keep their composure and who's going to keep their conditioning and who is going to be able to go through this and look better as the time goes on, and we'll see if someone technically breaks or not. And we've had to do this, you know, in other shows with other divisions even as well, when a show's this close between two great competitors. By the end, like I said earlier, Hunter was sweating, he was fading, and also losing control of his midsection. So by the end, I had Andrew winning the front double, the front lat spread, the ab and thigh, the most muscular. However, poses that were clearly Hunter's when they first came out, all of a sudden turned into more of toss-ups. This includes even the back double bicep by the end, because how Hunter faded, the definition and the crispness to his back, he started to sweat and he started to lose that, and Andrew started to pick up steam.
So that's super interesting. So it's really cool to hear the breakdown pose by pose that the head judge actually had at that contest. So it seemed like at the start, well, he said at the start, 5 poses to 3, Hunter winning. Then that most muscular swung by the end, so it was 4-4. And then he said those poses that Hunter was winning by a decent amount, Andrew Jacked made them really, really close, like the side chest and the back double bicep. So if they're really, really close and Andrew's dominating the ab shot, probably dominating the front double bicep, dominating the front lat spread, like he has some really, really dominant shots, then it makes it a pretty clear decision. Although not all judges had that opinion. There were still judges at the finals and pre-judging that had Hunter beating Andrew Jacked. So I want to say shout out to Tyler Mannion. This is awesome. I've actually messaged with Tyler as well. And potentially at some stage in the future, we could have Tyler on, hopefully. And I know you guys want to hear that as well, because who doesn't love to hear from the horse's mouth, the judges, on who are actually judging this contest. And I think it gives more perspective and it opens the fans up. Sure, there's going to be criticism. No matter what happens, what you put on YouTube, there's going to be criticism. But if they're speaking openly about it, even if you guys don't agree, you have to respect them for actually coming on and actually giving their opinion on a podcast where they're open to being ridiculed. They're judges. It's like umpires or refs in any sort of sport you watch. They're going to be criticized at some point. It's the exact same thing. And because it's subjective, they're always going to say, you know, oh, rigged, corrupt, whatever. But I would love to hear more from the judges. And I think it was a very fair breakdown on what Tyler had to say too. So shout out to them. But anyway, guys, let me know what you thought of this video. Did you agree with what Tyler Mannion had to say? Do you think Big Ramy will compete in the 2023 Mr Olympia or not? And give me your opinion on all the physique updates in this video. Anyway, guys, that's it from myself. My name is Xavier Wills. This is Desktop Bodybuilding, and we are out.